And today's program, it is time to go outdoors with Julie Gabrielson from Nevada Department of Wildlife, our conservation educator. And welcome, Julie. I guess it's the Happy New Year, huh?
Happy New Year. Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's actually we're on the last day of the month aren't we?
It's goodbye, January.
It felt like January lasted a really long time, and now all of a sudden it's just done.
Yep. It's a cutoff.
Yep.
And there's so many things that are going on. And the big event for you, we're kind of in the final stretch here for the Sportsman's Expo.
Yep, the Elko Sportsman's Expos happen in March 1st and 2nd out at the Elko Conference Center. And our great co-host, the National Wild Turkey Federation, our local chapter, Ruby Mountain Rios, Pike Bowles, and all of his group, they're such great contributors to this event for us and help us out in a lot of ways. It is a free to the public event. It's a 2-day event. It opens 9 to 5 on March 1st and 10 to 2 on March 2nd. We have the free youth activity room that really keeps the kids moving and shaking while mom and dad are out doing whatever they're doing out with the vendors and checking out all of the things out there to see. We have in the youth room. And we've gotten so big in the youth room, we've kind of expanded outside of the youth room even. So we have an archery and a pellet gun shooting range, free T-shirts to color, which is always a big hit because the kids can go in there and they get to color on these stencils on their T-shirts, and then they take them home. Also, and those are just, until supplies run out. Fly tying, and then we have wildlife education. We usually have some reptiles there for them to see, and a couple of them they can pet, but a couple of them not. They just stay in the cage, thankfully.
They're so those kind, yes.
Yeah, and then we have a bunch of vendors that are out there showing off all of their goods, and some are nonprofit organizations just wanting to tell you what they're all about and see if it's something that you want to pull into your daily activities or monthly activities. We also usually have a door prize where anybody that comes through the doors to just come and check out the show, it's a free entry for them. And it's usually always items that are donated by the vendors that come. Our co-sponsors this year are Fifth Gear, Riverton, and then I Hunt Apparel. We still have a couple of booth spaces available. So if you're interested and you want to participate in it this year, you can give me a call at 777-2305, and then I can walk you through all of the details about the show and the requirements and the booth sizes.
But just about a month away.
Just about a month away. We're there. We are in that home stretch, and it's always a lot of fun. It's a great show.
Well, thanks to you and conservation groups and everybody who support it and put it together, because it's not done in a blink. For sure.
No,
yes.
This is almost a year-round event that we're planning and organizing. So there is a lot of work that goes into it, and we love it because it's such a great opportunity for us with the outreach, with wildlife education and just general outdoor education. So it gives us that opportunity to mingle and talk with folks that we might not always, have that opportunity to engage with, and it just opens up more doors.
It's called the Elko Sportsman's Expo, but really it's for anybody who enjoys the beautiful backcountry and the great outdoors. March 1st and 2nd.
At the Elko Conference Center.
Thanks, Julie. So Hunter Ed classes. This is also winter's a good time to get that under your belt.
Yes, absolutely. And normally in our region, our Hunter Ed classes pick up about the end of January and run through early to mid-May, which is really right in time for our hunter applications. So we're trying to get all of those young ones and those that haven't gone through any hunter education before that want to put in for big game tags. We're trying to get all of them accommodated with all the different varying schedules. So we have classes scheduled, multiple classes every month, some on Fridays, some Saturdays, some Sundays. So we encourage you, if it's something that you need to do, go to ndowlicensing.com and click on Get Certified, and it should pull up a calendar where you can start picking and pulling through. One thing that I will caution you on when you pull up that calendar is that calendar is a statewide calendar. It's not just regional. So when you pull up a class that, February 21st looks really good, I'm going to sign up for it. Make sure it's an Elko class, not a Vegas class or a West Wendover class. Make sure it's for the location that you're looking for. But again, that's ndowlicensing.com under Get Certified.
Perfect. And if you do have questions, you can give Julie a call directly. That sounds great.
Yes, absolutely.
So volunteers are also needed for various programs, and it's so nice that NDOW hosts this opportunity.
Yeah, and we couldn't do 90% of what we do without our volunteers. We've got volunteers that go out and cover events for us. with our angler education volunteers, hunter education, they go out there and they actually, represent us at places because there's so few of us. And so we're very lucky to have some really great volunteers across the state. So as part of that, first of all, we're always recruiting volunteers. Whether you have a passion for wildlife education, handling, the reptiles and the snakes, all the snakes and all that stuff. You're a birder. You really have a passion for getting kids outdoors with hunting or fishing. We have a job for you, and we want to put you to work. And there's really not a huge time commitment requirement. There's a couple things where if you want to be a hunter education instructor, we ask for a class or two a year that you commit to teach. Those are typically 8 to 10 hour classes, depending on how much prep work you put into it. Angler educators, sometimes, we've got the progressive fly tying classes, and that's a commitment, every Wednesday from about end of November, mid-November until about March. All of our angler education instructors, they rotate between those fly tying classes. Some of them come to every one of them. So it really just depends on what your time availability is and what your passion is. And we can definitely put you to work on that. If you've got an idea that you're thinking, hey, I really want to get this out there, I haven't seen anything out there like this, come to us and we'll see if we can help facilitate it. And a lot of times all of these classes that we offer that our volunteers spend so much time for us, we pay for all of the supplies for the students to come through these classes. So as part of that and our appreciation for our volunteers, we also have tenure awards and appreciation dinners and banquets. We did just wrap up our Elko, Ely, and Eureka area appreciation dinners. Our volunteers, they cross over all the different genres: hunter education, angler education, archery education, and wildlife ed. And we offered our first 45-year award this year. He's actually one of our hunter ed instructors. He's out of Wendover, and he's been doing this for 45 years. He's been certifying kids and adults for hunter education. So that was really a cool treat because that's, we're hitting that time of, we've never done this before, so we had to be creative with the award even. Over 2024, our volunteer instructors contributed 1,200 hours to our programs, and that amounts to more than $53,000 in federal in-kind match, because for each hour and mileage that they contribute to our programs, we get an in-kind match on a federal grant. And that comes straight back into our education programs. So our volunteers are so valuable to us on so many levels, and we can't thank them enough. And so if you are interested and you want to be part of this team, give us a call. You can talk to Nicole Hamlin. She's our volunteer coordinator for this region. Her number is 777-2388.
That is fantastic, Julie. And again, just those numbers really underscore how popular your programs are and that people want to contribute to this. Yeah. Obviously as a conservation educator, what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. You're incorporating all of this safety, and so people are encouraged to get out and enjoy the landscape. That's something that you've been able to do with even, your ice fishing clinics.
Yeah, and our ice fishing clinic, we had one scheduled actually for this weekend, but we did have to cancel it because the ice has just been undependable enough. And even though it's starting to get a little bit better the last week or two, in the general area that we don't normally host that clinic, we have 30-ish people out there in a concentrated area, and it's an area that isn't normal. It's not forming well right now. And so we canceled it out of safety concerns and wanting to make sure that everybody out there was safe. But whenever we do any of these classes, we have a heavy safety component and preparedness component. So that's absolutely something that we tie into 99% of our programs that we offer to the public. Going back to the ice conditions, the ice growth on the reservoir, it was really slow and inconsistent. And at the state park boat launch is where we hosted it. And so that was the general area that we were most concerned about. So safety is our number one priority. Again, not just on the ice, in all of our programs. And in this case, we did cancel it for that reason. If you choose, I do want to put this plug out there. If you do choose to go out on your own through this season, which, if the ice is showing and it's in good shape, by all means, get out there, enjoy that sun shining and enjoy that fresh air, but be prepared with some safety equipment, because you don't know where hot spots often are. There might be some warm springs that soften some of the ice and make it thinner than you might think. And it's, it's just something that you want to be prepared for. Have all of the safety equipment with you. Make sure somebody knows where you're at. Take people with you. Don't go by yourself. All the different, the typical safety things that you want to tie into all of your adventures outdoors.
Yeah, we did checked in with South Fork, and I think the same thing goes out there. The ice is just not stable. I mean, it's just, we've had some warm-up days, and so use extreme caution.
Extreme caution.
Yes, definitely. And that brings us to any number of classroom opportunities. We know that Nicole has been super busy. I think you were going to be delivering the trout in the classroom if they're not already there, right?
No, next week we'll be delivering the trout in the classroom eggs. We have 21 active classrooms this year. A big portion of our eggs are going to be delivered by volunteers, by our angler education volunteers, as well as a couple others. We have classrooms from Battle Mountain, Jackpot, Wells, Eureka, McGill, and Elko in the Spring Creek area. So they're going to be running all over the place for us next week. Our spring schedule for the school classroom programs, it is starting to fill up pretty fast, but we do have a little bit of availability in there. So if you've got something on your mind that you would like us to come out and help out with, give us a call. April and May in particular are a little bit more open than March per se or February. But again, give Nicole St. John, because if you remember correctly, I have Team Nicole that works with us. So Nicole St. John, who would handle the in-classroom programming, her number is 777-2391, and she can kind of dial in what availability she has for what it is that you're looking to have. She's also been working pretty hot and heavy on the Wild Week, which is coming up in 2025. And that's become more of a collaboration with some of our community partners as well. And that's going to happen over spring break, which is March 31st through April 4th. So be watching for that. If you've got some kids that you want to, give them something to do, you're not going out of town for spring break and you want to give them something to do over the break, and just watch for it. And we'll have the registration links out there soon.
Good, Julie, because those are really popular. You want to get in and register early because they fill up fast.
They do. They are limited entry, just, between facility and staff availability, they are limited entry.
Yep, that is the only disappointment with Wild Week, is that there just are so many spaces. So let's switch gears and talk about fisheries.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it with the Wild Horse and the ice fishing clinic being canceled, but, the recent cold weather has improved those ice conditions. We'll go back to the ice again. At Wild Horse, Cummins, and Illapa. Hard-packed snow and icy roads are making some difficult access to some points of the shoreline, especially at Wild Horse. Anglers venturing out for the upcoming derbies at Wild Horse and at Cummins, you still really need to use that extreme caution and be careful with what you're doing out there, because it is variable ice thickness throughout all of those lakes and changing conditions. I know we've got a storm coming in this weekend, but I think after that it's supposed to warm up again. So these are things that you really want to take into consideration. Anglers also need to be reminded that areas of ice that don't have the snow cover, they're icy. They are very, very slippery. So bring some of your ice cleats out with you or something with heavy traction, because you will be slipping and sliding around out there on that ice without any snow cover. Out at Wild Horse, perch are being caught up to about 11.5 inches, which is a pretty good sized perch for our area. Trout anglers are also finding some success as well. We are seeing that the conditions out at Cummins Lake out of Ely, those are improving as well, those ice conditions, and anglers both for trout and northern pike are seeing some success. Some reminders on all of the waters is that the maximum hole size for ice fishing is 10 inches. That is for your safety. And so it is a regulation, maximum hole size of 10 inches, especially down at Cummins Lake where you see some of those really big pike. Reminder, 10 inches is the max hole size. So be aware of that. If you end up, finding having a really nice big pike hit that line, you might have some struggles bringing it through. But again, 10 inches is the max hole.
Yeah, that is, as you said, for safety. It's about the integrity of the ice. So
and your safety. I mean, it's so easy to fall in. When you've got a bigger one. I mean, even with a 10 inch, you can slip a foot in, or go up to your knee, maybe your hip, depending on how big or small you are. But it really is about safety.
All right, talking with Julie Gabrielson. She's from Nevada Department of Wildlife and our local conservation educator. And with this time of year, people like to cozy up indoors and put some food in the bird feeder and maybe feed some other animals, but that's a problem.
It can be. It really can be. It really comes back to don't feed the deer. The deer, and that's intentional and unintentional. So horse feed, all of your hay and grains and all of that, lock it up, find a way to cover it and make it as least accessible by the deer as possible. They're foragers, so they know how to find the feed that they need. And that comes back to even just smelling it. So if you've got some feed locked in a garage, right inside a dog door or a pet door access, some of them are, creative enough to where they either, if they don't get through it, they get stuck in it. And that includes raccoons, that includes coyotes, feral cats. There's all different types of wildlife that can get in through there. A couple years ago, we had a deer in Eureka that went through with her head through one of the pet doors. And while we were able to, remove her from it, she walked around with the pet door around her neck for a day or two before we were able to, to get to her and get it off. But there can be some some damage done through that as well. And it's really unhealthy for them to eat any food that's not intended for them. So unintentional feeding, intentional feeding, it needs to stop. It's actually illegal to feed the deer. We do have regulations about that. So, big fences, taller fences in your yard will help reduce the amount of visitors to your yard, lock up that pet feed and livestock feed, and just pay attention to what's going on out there.
Yeah, and really the goal is to try to steer them away from these urban interface areas too, for their safety as well as for ours.
Yeah. So when they have too much feed available to them that's not their natural feed, it interrupts their migration pattern as well. They might not migrate when they should. If at all, because they've got everything they need in one particular area. So it's really important to push them towards that natural feed resource instead of, those alternative unintentional feed sources.
Yeah, because the unintentional would be things like collisions with vehicles.
Yeah, and that adds up more to it. The more that we have of them in the residential areas, the more likely we are to have those collisions with them. Deer, that deer presence in Spring Creek can get pretty strong at early morning and dusk. So it's really important to slow down and pay attention because they are out there and they're out there in force right now. They are looking for their feed. It's been a pretty low snow year down in the valley, but they're still out there foraging and doing their thing. So definitely pay attention. Watch your headlights. Don't look too far ahead of your headlights. Watch the sides of the roads because they can bolt out pretty quick from the edges.
So Julie, what should someone do if they see an injured deer?
If you see an injured deer, they're pretty resilient animals, and it is amazing what they can survive and what they can recover from. So some of the practices to think about is if they're still moving around and they're still feeding and drinking, they're probably working through it and they're probably doing okay. If it's looking like it might possibly be healing okay, then normally nature takes its course and does well by it. But there are some situations where we do need to intervene. So best practice is to send us some pictures, give us a call, give us some good descriptions on location, what it is that you're seeing, and then one of our game biologists or game wardens will go out and assess the situation and see what needs to be done.
That's perfect. Yep. Elko NDOW at 775-777-2300. That's the general information number. Yep. And so law enforcement is also hard at work year round.
They are. They're so busy. Back to, reiterating the max 10-inch hole of ice fishing. But shed hunting season, remember, it is closed currently. It will not open back up again until April 30th. That is closed for all public lands in Elko, Eureka, Lander, Lincoln, Nye, and White Pine counties. That was a regulation passed a couple years ago. It closes from January 1st to April 30th every year now. Once it opens back up, it is required to take a yearly shed ethics online training in order to be able to go out there and do any of your shed hunting early on in May. It is a free course. It's not up. It typically doesn't become available to the public until around the 1st of April. So as you get closer to the opening of shed season on May 1st, you'll be able to find that course on our website.
That sounds perfect. You can always call the office here in Elko, 775-777-2300 if you do have any questions about any of those seasons or dates, or where to get signed up, for example, the online training.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of, some people are still using the Operation Game Thief 1-800 number, but there's also some new technology with a tip app.
Yeah, we've got the NDOW tip app, and it is exactly what it is. If you've got some information on something that you thought might have been a crime or just something out of sorts, even you can even use it to report, an animal down or, a dead head that you might find in the field. I mean, so there's several ways that you can use it. You have the option to be anonymous with it as well. It operates essentially the same way as Operation Game Thief, which is that number is 800-992-3030. Sometimes it's good to just keep that, put it in your phone as a contact. So that way, you've got it. And then the NDOW tip app, it can be downloaded onto your phone. Some things to remember if you are seeing something that's a little suspicious in the field is don't approach them. Just gather as much information on it as you possibly can. License plates, color of vehicles, how many people, some description of the people, what they're wearing, what they're doing, and then give it to our law enforcement or through the tip app or the phone number and let our guys take care of it from there.
Sometimes you may not think it's anything, but we notice that NDOW might ask for information like from several weeks or even months previous. Julie, that's why these tips can help, because if someone does find an illegal harvest or there's evidence of something that's ongoing, because as talking to biologists over the years, we learned that if someone is willing to poach big game or, other violations, it's likely not the first time they've done it.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah. So anything that you report could be helpful in curtailing that kind of, because the wildlife belong to everybody in the state, and we all have an interest in protecting and preserving it.
Absolutely.
So, we all have to play by the rules.
Don't ever feel like, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm silly for calling this in. Let our guys take it from there, because you'd be surprised what starts out as that thought, and it turns into something much different.
Yep. So. Again, Operation Game Thief, 1-800-992-3030, or download the NDOW tip app. That can be really useful. So on to operations as we're visiting with Julie Gabrielson from NDOW.
Oh, yeah, it's getting busy. So Chucker and Hungarian partridge seasons close on the 2nd. That's this Sunday, so just a couple days away. However, cottontail season, it'll stay open until the end of February, so February 28th. We do have 2 more bobcat sealing dates coming up in Elko. The first one is on February 18th. The second is on March 10th. And those run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and they are at the Elko office off of Youth Center Road. The bobcat and fox seasons, those will close on February 28th. Application dates, we do have some application dates coming up. Turkey application period is actually over. That closed at the beginning of the week. However, the bonus point application time is open until the 3rd of February. That draw for turkey tags will take place on the 12th of February, and the results will post on the 14th. Big game, those apps are going to open on March 24th. They'll close on May 7th, and then the draw will take place on the 21st of May and announced on May 23rd, not February.
A lot of dates. Yes.
Lots of dates there. So those are coming up and things to look forward to. And those are kind of the dates, going back to the hunter education classes. Those are kind of what we base those hunter education classes around here as well. The mountain lion season closes on the 28th of February. So remember, if you think you're going to be hunting mountain lion after March 1st, you're going to need to renew your license for the mountain lion tags. So that's coming up here pretty soon in the next month as well. And then boating season, believe it or not, I know it's cold and we're expecting a big storm, but it's going to be upon us in no time up here. You can register your boat online or in the office. And if you have any questions regarding the purchase of a boat, you can give Natalie or Sydney a call at the front office. That number is 777-2300. And just a little side note, because I know we are going to start seeing some yard sales coming up here soon. Be very, very cautious of those boats, those yard sale boats without a title. You really need to have a title with it. It's a very difficult process to register a boat that you don't have a title for.
Yep, and that's expensive yard art. You don't need that.
It is,
So,
yep.
Yeah. So something else that people look forward to this time of year is, a lot of bird watching. This is when you can really see the raptors. I know they're not raptors, but oh my gosh, the crows. There are some big crows around Elko, and I don't know if they're just here for the cowboy poetry gathering, Julie, but it's pretty funny. Yeah, there's a lot of crows.
They're around. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they definitely are around. There's no doubt about it.
And they're so chatty.
Yes, they are very chatty.
Yes, I know. So I'm a person that I love birds anyway. So so raptor surveys.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're wrapping those up. Actually, today is usually the last day of the raptor survey. We have multiple routes on back roads, lots of miles. We're one of very few states that still continues this survey. We have 68 routes throughout the state, and they range from 9 miles to 200 miles each. I'll tell you, I have one of the ones that's closer to 200 miles that I take every year, and it's really cool. Some years I've had really, really low counts. This year I had a record high count, and so it's cool to get out there and see the new territories and be a part of it. And again, that's another area that you can volunteer, is to go out and take on a survey like this. So that's wrapping up, and we should have some information out on that in the next probably 60 days on how that played out. We are gearing up to survey bat hibernacula across the state in February, and that tests for the fungus that causes the white nose syndrome. It's a disease that's affecting many bat populations around North America, and fortunately, Nevada remains one of the few states that has not detected it yet. To help prevent the spread of the fungus, though, we ask that you stay out of caves and mines. If you do enter a cave, be sure to clean your shoes and gear in between sites, and it's a best to always leave those bats alone if you do come across any of them. For more information on the white nose syndrome, you can just go to a website. It's whitenosesyndrome.org, and you can find out a lot more information on that.
Yeah, bats are an important part of the ecosystem, so definitely leave them be, and let's do everything we can to help eradicate this disease.
And that really comes true with all of our wildlife. Let them be. Yep. Yeah. Don't approach them. Just watch them from afar and let them do what they do. We've also got on February 14th through the 17th is the Audubon Great Backyard Bird Count for 2025. You can check out more information on that at the Audubon website, and it's birdcount.org/participate is where you can find more information on also joining in on that bird count. We are always interested in some special observations, especially like the rosy finch. The black rosy finch and the gray-crowned rosy finch are some birds that we definitely want to hear about. If you have them in your area, if they're coming into your backyard on a regular basis, let us know, as well as the pinyon jays. We want to know if you're seeing them on a regular basis or where you've seen them, even if it's a one-time occurrence. We'd like to know that. You can contact NDOW if you see any of them this winter, or you can submit your observations through eBird. If you're not familiar with that, that's an app that you can also download, and you can see what all is being observed in your area as well as contributing to it.
Wow, that's great. eBird, super easy on that one. And again, bird watching is fun. I mean, it really is. It's a relaxing kind of a pastime. And you can get out and adventure, take the dog.
Yes,
take a picnic.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yep. So our last topic, Julie, is on habitat today.
Yeah, these guys are busy all year round. I mean, we all are. And these guys, you'd think that when we have like multiple feet of snow on the ground or any snow on the ground that it might slow them down, but it doesn't. This division, Habitat, they've been preparing for aerial seeding implementation, and that's across the eastern region, and that's in cooperation with private landowners and federal partners. They're preparing for 7,100 acres to be seeded in the Ely area, and then another 8,400 acres to be seeded here in the Elko area. They're reviewing various projects that are going to, impacting wildlife resources that are located on federally managed lands. And just a side note with that is there's some really significant increase in renewable energy interest. So we encourage you as the public, stay involved in all of the projects and know what's happening out there across the public lands in Nevada. You can find out information on all of them at eplanning.blm.gov. So go to that website again. It's eplanning.blm.gov, and you can find out what's being proposed for our public lands in the state.
Well, thanks, Julie, for the reminder. You can speak with any conservation group, too. There are lots of ways to support the effort, but be informed, get more information, and then, take a role in that. Make sure you originate some comments and let people know how you feel about some of these topics.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. So I guess the last thing, though, almost everything we've talked about, Julie, there might be a companion piece on your very own NDOW YouTube channel.
You never know what you're going to find on our YouTube
don't.
channel. Yeah, and that's a free access. And there's also a YouTube channel for our commission. So any of the commission meetings are recorded and put to that as well. So you can always go back and watch the commission videos as well. But on the NDOW video, YouTube page itself, you'll have anything from the most recently released the mountain goat capture and release video on there to some educational videos that we did 4 years ago. There's a plethora of things that you could spend some time and learning and exploring what NDOW does and what the state has to offer.
And the videos, too, are family friendly. I mean, you can hand a kid, if you have to be in the grocery store rather than a silly cartoon, maybe put, the NDOW YouTube on, and then they can learn about the critters, too.
My grandson actually does that.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll pull up the page at certain times, he'll pull it up, and then he'll just start flipping through videos, and he'll go from one to another, and next thing I know, I got all these questions coming at me, and so it's great. There's a lot of different things that they can learn about on there.
See, you are a perfect conservation educator. It's even within your own family, Julie.
I don't know about perfect, but I try.
You do a great job. Thank you so much for taking time out. And again, we just want to remind everybody, a couple slots left in the Sportsman's Expo. That'll be coming up March 1st and 2nd. So by the time we meet again, I think that's going to be over. So we just want to make sure everybody's...
or real close. We might be going right into it.
Good.
Yeah, so it might be
one
one
more
last
plug.
push. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, listeners, for joining us. Thank you, Julie, for being here today. Julie Gabrielson is our conservation educator with Nevada Department of Wildlife.